All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking into something that just might, you know, be a really big deal in the world of AI.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Google just announced their agent-to-agent
It's an
protocol,
agent to agent protocol.
A2A for short. Now, I know. When you hear new protocol, you probably think, "Oh, great, technical jargon."
Yep, my eyes kind of glaze over.
Right. But this one could really shake things up in a big way. We're talking about how AI agents work together, especially within businesses.
Okay, now that sounds interesting. So what's the problem it's trying to solve? Like, what's the situation right now?
Well, think about it. We're seeing more and more of these really advanced AI agents popping up, right?
Right.
And they're often built on totally different systems by different companies using different, everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the big headache has been how to get all these brainy AI systems to actually talk to each other,
Yeah.
communicate and work together smoothly, especially across all the different data and applications that a company's using.
It's like they're speaking different languages or something.
Exactly. And A2A, that's Google's attempt to bridge that gap.
I see. I see. So it's like a universal translator for AI agents.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
So how does this actually help businesses though? Like, what's the benefit?
Okay, well, imagine you've got a team of incredibly talented people,
All right.
but they're all stuck in their own little silos.
Uh-huh.
They can't coordinate, they can't share information easily. Think about how much more they could accomplish if they could actually work together seamlessly.
Oh yeah.
That's the potential here.
Really?
We're talking about AI agents becoming truly autonomous and working together.
Ah.
Like, imagine multiplying the productivity,
Wow.
streamlining all these complex operations, and saving businesses a ton of money in the process.
Yeah. That sounds pretty revolutionary.
It really does. And it's not just some, pie in the sky idea. Google officially announced A2A just a few days ago on April 9th. And some pretty big names from Google Cloud are behind it. Rao Surapenneni, Miku Jha, Michael Vokok, and Todd Segal. So, so they're serious about this.
That's a lot of heavy hitters.
Yeah. And here's another thing that's super encouraging. This isn't just a Google thing. It's open. They're inviting everyone to the party.
Really?
Already, over 50 technology partners and leading service providers are jumping in to help develop it. Big names like Atlassian and Salesforce. And on the service side, you've got companies like Accenture and Deloitte.
Wow. So this has some serious industry support already.
Oh, absolutely. And that tells you that a lot of people see the potential here.
Yeah, it really does. It sounds like A2A could be a game changer.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to be diving deep into today for you. We're going to break
Mm.
down exactly what A2A is, how it works, why it matters, and what it could mean for the future of AI and software in a whole. So let's really unpack this A2A thing a little more, okay? Imagine a big company. They've got lots of departments, different software systems, separate data stores, the whole nine yards.
Right.
Now, the vision here with A2A is that you'll have AI agents that can operate across all those different boundaries, like independently handle tasks that span multiple systems.
Oh, boy.
Think about an agent that can automatically order new laptops for employees,
Mm.
but not just order them.
Yeah.
It can check inventory, compare prices, get approvals, all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Or how about an agent that can help with customer service?
Okay.
You know, but but it can pull information from all sorts of different systems in real time
Yeah.
to give the customer the most accurate and up-to-date answers.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Or even something as complex as supply chain planning.
Wow.
AI agents could really revolutionize that entire process.
I see. I see. So it's really about breaking down those silos and letting the AI agents do what they do best.
Exactly, connecting all those different pieces of the
Yeah.
puzzle. And the key ingredient here, the thing that makes all of this possible, is interoperability.
Interoperability.
That's what A2A is all about.
Mhm.
Without it, each agent is basically stuck in its own little world.
Okay.
But with A2A, they can collaborate. They can exchange information securely. They can coordinate actions. And it doesn't matter where they came from or what technology they're built on.
So they can actually work together as a team.
Exactly. Now, Google's been talking about A2A in the context of another protocol called MCP.
NCB.
That's Anthropic's Model Context Protocol.
Hmm.
And, it can get a little confusing trying to keep them straight.
Yeah, a little bit.
So can you explain to us, what's the difference between those two?
Sure. So MCP is more about giving an individual AI agent the tools and context it needs to be more self-sufficient. It's
Okay.
like, you're giving an agent all the resources it needs to do its job really well, but it's still just one agent.
Got it.
A2A, on the other hand, is all about communication and collaboration between different agents.
Okay, so one is about empowering an individual agent, and the other is about connecting different agents together.
Exactly. Like, with MCP, an agent might be able to access a database,
Uh-huh.
but with A2A, that same agent could talk to another agent that specializes in analyzing that data.
Ah, okay, okay.
So they work together, but they're focused on different things.
So they're complementary.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So A2A is kind of like the communication highway between these different agents.
You got it.
All right, so how did Google actually design this highway? What were the guiding principles?
Well, there were 5 key principles that they focused on. The first is what they call agentic capabilities.
Okay, agentic capabilities.
Yeah. And basically what that means is that the protocol is designed to let agents collaborate in a way that's natural for them.
So,
It's not about just giving them a tool and saying, go do this. It's about allowing them to figure out how to work together.
oh, interesting.
Even if they don't have, shared memory or a common set of tools, it's about genuine multi-agent scenarios.
So it's more about facilitating collaboration than just dictating how things should be done.
Exactly.
Okay. What's the next principle?
So the second principle is that they wanted to build on existing standards.
Ah, so they're not reinventing the wheel.
No, not at all. So A2A uses technologies that are already widely used, like HTTP, server-sent events, SSE, and JSON RPC.
Okay, and that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, that makes it a lot easier for businesses to adopt it, right?
exactly. They don't have to rip and replace their entire infrastructure.
Right. All right, what about the third principle?
The third principle is security by default.
Okay, that's got to be a big one, right? Especially with all this talk about AI safety and everything.
Absolutely. So A2A has built-in, enterprise-grade authentication and authorization.
Uh-huh.
It uses really strong security mechanisms.
Okay.
And importantly, it aligns with OpenAPI's authentication standards.
Okay, and why is that important?
Well, that helps ensure secure communication between agents, even if they come from different sources or they're working in different parts of the system.
Right, right. So it's not just about keeping the bad guys out, but also about making sure the right agents are talking to each other.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got agentic capabilities, building on existing standards, security by default. What's number 4?
Number 4 is support for long-running tasks.
Long-running tasks. Okay.
Yeah, and the thinking there is that a lot of real-world business processes, they don't happen instantly. They
Right.
can take hours, days, or even weeks to complete.
Yeah.
So A2A is designed to handle both those quick actions and those long, complex processes.
Okay.
And it has mechanisms built in for, real-time feedback, notifications, status updates, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So you can actually track the progress of these long-running tasks.
So you're not just left in the dark wondering what's going on.
Exactly.
All right, so that's 4 principles. What's the 5th one?
The fifth and final principle is modality agnostic,
Modality agnostic. Okay.
which means, it's not just about text.
Uh-huh.
A2A is designed to support a whole range of communication formats, audio, video streaming, all of that.
So it's really future-proofed in terms of how agents might communicate.
Exactly.
Okay, so those 5 principles really lay the groundwork for A2A.
Yeah.
But how does it actually work in practice? Like, could you give us a little more detail on the technical side of things?
Sure. So at its core, A2A is about interactions between a client agent and a remote agent.
Okay, client and remote.
Yeah. So the client agent is the one that initiates a task.
Oh.
They say, hey, I need something done. And the remote agent is the one that actually performs that action.
Got it.
Now, there are a few key capabilities that make all of this work. The first is capability discovery.
Capability discovery, okay.
And this is all about how agents find out what other agents can do.
Right, because it's not like they have a big directory of who knows what.
Exactly. So this is where the agent card comes in.
Agent card.
Yeah. Each agent basically advertises its capabilities using this card. It's like a little JSON file that says, hey, this is what I can do, these are my skills, this is where you can find me, and these are the credentials you need to talk to me.
So it's like a digital resume for AI agents.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, so once a client agent finds a remote agent that seems like a good fit, what happens next?
Then we move on to task management.
Task management.
Yeah, and this is where the task object comes in.
Okay.
This is a central part of the A2A protocol. Each task has a defined life cycle, from start to finish. It has a unique ID so you can track it.
Okay.
And tasks can be designed for, immediate completion, or they can be long-running, like we talked about before.
Uh,
And if it's a long-running task, the agents can exchange status updates with each other.
okay, so everyone's on the same page about how things are progressing.
Right. And when the task is completed, the result, the outcome, is called an artifact.
Artifact?
Yeah. So you can think of it as the finished product of the task.
Okay.
Now, how do the agents actually exchange information and collaborate on these tasks?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, they do it through messages.
Messages.
Yeah. They send these structured messages back and forth.
Okay.
And these messages can contain all sorts of information. The context of the task, replies to questions, the artifacts themselves, even instructions for the user.
So it's a pretty rich form of communication.
Yeah, it is. And here's a really cool thing. These messages can include parts.
Parts.
Yeah, so each part represents a piece of content, like an image or a document,
Okay.
and it has a specific content type associated with it.
Okay, and what does that do?
Well, that lets the client and remote agents negotiate the best format for that content.
Ah, I see.
You know, should we use an iframe? Should we stream a video? Should we use a web form? They can figure that out.
So it's not just about sending the raw data, it's about making sure it's presented in a way that makes sense. Okay, so let's put it all together. Like, walk us through a typical interaction from start to finish.
Okay, so it starts with the discovery phase. The client agent looks for a remote agent that has the skills it needs,
Uh-huh.
and it does that by fetching the agent card.
Okay.
Once it finds a good match, we move to the initiation phase. The client agent sends a task request to the remote agent,
Okay.
and that could be, an initial message, a user command, whatever needs to be done.
Uh-huh.
Then comes the processing phase.
Okay.
And if it's a long-running task, the remote agent can send updates back to the client agent using server-sent events.
Ah.
Things like progress indicators or even partial results.
So the client agent can keep an eye on things.
Right. And if the task needs more input from the user or the client agent, there's an interaction phase.
Okay.
They can exchange messages back and forth. And finally, the task reaches a completion state.
Okay.
Either it's successful, there was an error, or it was canceled.
All right, that makes sense. Now, what about keeping the client agent informed about those long-running tasks without having to constantly check in?
Well, that's where push notifications come in.
Push notifications, okay.
Yeah. So if the remote agent supports it, the client agent can provide a webhook URL.
Okay.
And the remote agent can send updates to that URL whenever there's a change in the task status.
So it's a much more efficient way of handling things.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. But to really bring it home, can you give us a real-world example of how A2A could be used?
Sure. Let's say you're a hiring manager and you're using a unified AI interface, something like Agent Space,
Okay.
and you want to find some candidates for a software engineering role.
Uh-huh.
So you tell your agent, hey, I need some candidates. Here's the job description. Here's the location. Here are the skills I'm looking for.
Okay.
Now, with A2A, your agent doesn't have to do all the work itself.
Right.
It can talk to other specialized agents,
Like what?
like a sourcing agent that's really good at finding candidates on LinkedIn or GitHub,
Okay.
or an interview scheduling agent that can find a time that works for everyone,
Uh-huh.
or even a background check agent.
Oh, wow.
And all of these agents can work together seamlessly using A2A.
So it's like building a whole team of AI agents to help you with the hiring process.
Exactly. And each agent can be the best at what it does.
That's a really powerful example.
Mhm.
So looking ahead, what kind of impact could A2A have on the future of AI?
Well, I think it has the potential to really unlock a new era of agent interoperability,
Okay, interoperability.
which could lead to some really amazing innovation. We could start seeing much more powerful and adaptable AI systems.
Yeah.
And the fact that Google is open sourcing A2A and encouraging community contributions is huge.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It means that anyone can get involved and help shape the future of this technology.
Right?
And they're planning to release a production-ready version later this year, so they're definitely serious about this.
So how does A2A fit in with all those other agentic frameworks that are out there? Things like Crew AI, AutoGen, LangGraph.
Mhm.
Is A2A meant to replace them?
No, not at all. A2A is the communication protocol between agents.
Okay.
Those other frameworks, they're tools for designing and managing agents within a system.
Okay, so it's like those frameworks are for building your team of agents.
Exactly.
And A2A is for letting your team talk to other teams.
You got it. Even if those other teams are built using totally different tools.
So A2A is kind of like the universal language for AI agents.
That's a good way to think about it.
Okay. And how about MCP? How does that fit in with all of this?
Well, The idea is that an LLM plus tools equals an agent.
Okay.
MCP provides a standardized way for an agent to access those tools,
Uh-huh.
and then A2A lets those agents communicate and coordinate with other agents.
So they really do work hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. They're both important pieces of the puzzle.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. What are the key takeaways here for our listener?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that A2A provides a standardized way for AI agents to communicate,
Okay.
which is absolutely essential for collaboration.
Right.
And this enhanced collaboration, it could lead to something really amazing.
Mm.
An internet of agents.
The Internet of Agents, huh?
Yeah, where you can combine specialized agents from different providers to handle really complex tasks.
Wow.
We might even see a shift away from those big monolithic software applications to a more dynamic landscape of interconnected agents. Some people are calling it the agentic web.
Agentic web. That's a pretty big idea. So what does all this mean for software developers?
Well, I think it means that developers need to start thinking about building agents that can interoperate,
Okay.
agents that can work well with other
Oh,
agents.
right.
It also creates an opportunity to offer their existing services through agent interfaces.
Ah, okay.
And who knows, we might even see the emergence of an agent marketplace.
Agent Marketplace.
Yeah, like an app store, but for AI agents.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, where you can go and find agents that can do specific things.
Wow. So A2A is still pretty early, right?
Yeah, it's still a draft specification. It's going to evolve.
Okay.
But Google has already released some sample applications in Python and JavaScript on their GitHub, so developers can start playing around with it and get a feel for how it works.
That's great. And it sounds like they have even more ideas for the future.
Oh, yeah. They're looking at things like formalized authorization in the agent cards, a new method for querying skills, more sophisticated UX negotiation, and even client-initiated methods.
So they're really thinking about how to make this a robust and flexible platform.
Absolutely. They want to create a solid foundation for the future of agent collaboration.
Well, it definitely sounds like A2A has the potential to be a game changer.
Yeah, it does. It could really change the way we think about software and AI.
So for our listeners, what do you think they should take away from all of this?
Well, I think it's important to start thinking about the implications of this technology for their own work. Can they see their organization using interconnected AI agents to streamline operations or unlock new capabilities?
Uh-huh.
What kind of new possibilities might this interoperability enable?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. And if you're a developer, now's the time to start exploring A2A.
Hmm.
Google has a website dedicated to it, and they've got all the code samples on GitHub.
Absolutely. It's worth taking a look and seeing what all the buzz is about.
Okay, so to wrap things up, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Imagine a future where you can just say what you need, just like you talk to a person,
Uh-huh.
and then a whole network of AI agents specialized in all sorts of different things just takes care of it for you, behind the scenes, seamlessly, without you even having to think about it.
That's an interesting thought.
Do you think that's where we're headed?
I think it's definitely a possibility. And it would be a pretty amazing future if it does come to pass.
It would be a whole new way of interacting with technology.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a pretty mind-blowing thought to leave us on. Thanks for joining us today on The Deep Dive. We'll be sure to keep an eye on A2A and bring you any updates as they come along.
Sounds good.
Until next time, thanks for listening.
See ya.